Welcome to H360 Health Talk. I'm here this afternoon with Dan Sczweck and Greg Blair, who are going to tell us about a local organization called the Miracle League of Mercer County and all the great things that they do. Well, this organization is all about taking down any barriers that might inhibit folks with limitations or disabilities. Guys, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
So tell me a little about what is the Miracle League. Tell me how it got started. I'm really interested to hear how you work with children in the community. A lot to cover today, but let's jump in and talk to me a little bit about how the organization got started.
Yeah, back in 2004, some members of my Rotary Club saw a film about a Miracle League field. It was down in Conyers, Georgia. It was the first of its kind. They were kind of adopted by the Atlanta Braves. It was a child that wanted to play baseball but was in a walker, and the parents wanted to develop something where they would have the opportunity to play baseball. So there wasn't a dry eye in the meeting after watching this film. 3 members stepped up and said, I think we could do something like this. And they went out and tried to do it on their own, and they were having a hard time raising the money, finding locations, because there's challenges that were bringing that to fruition. But in 2005, we were happy to say to be the 15th Miracle League field in the nation when it was completed and opened. There's many more now, but back then we were the first one in the Northeast, which had its challenges. Not knowing what surfaces we could use that we could withstand the cold weather. But I think we made the right choices. It's a beautiful field. It's held its own for since 2005 with very little maintenance, and it's still a great looking field. And I was happy to say that we were the first one to do it, and there's been many copycats after that. But we welcome all of them, because there's many children that want to play.
So what were some of the things that were important to you guys as you were looking around trying to say, all right, we see this, here's a model here, but the Atlanta Braves have a beautiful field, and it might be a little easier. How do you take something like that you see on a national scale and localize it?
Well, that was the biggest challenge we had was meeting a budget that we could do. So our first initial place that we looked, the County of Mercer was willing to give us some land in Mercer County Park to build the field. But with that came nothing. You started from a raw piece of land and having to, it's just not the field. It's handicapped bathrooms, it's parking, there's a lot of side costs to go with that. So if we were to do it in an atmosphere like that, our budget would have been probably somewhere around $750,000 to build the field, which was a really big goal for us to have as a club. I was friends with the director at the time, Jim Fell, over at the Hamilton YMCA. They had recently built the Sawmill Camp in Hamilton, which is a camp that has all kinds of ball fields and soccer fields and swimming pool and all that. So it was a perfect atmosphere. The 3 members that were looking to do this, I joined up with them. We went and had lunch with Jim Fell, told him our idea. We went right back to his office. He showed us a T-ball field that was not being used at the time, which sat right next to a pavilion that had handicap bathrooms. It had the parking for handicap accessible parking with a path going down to the field. So all we then had to do was focus on raising the money to build the field. So the budget went from like $750,000 down to like $350,000, which was big. And then we were able to go out. Once we had that, the deal was the Rotary Club would build the field and maintain it, and the Hamilton YMCA would run the organization and provide the administration, to run the league and manage it, which was very important also because, Rotarians, though the intentions are well, the last thing we wanted to do was have to build a field and then have nobody there to run the program.
Sure.
So the marriage it was a great partnership between Rotary and the Hamilton YMCA. We were recognized nationally at the YMCA level for that, as well as the Rotary International level for that accomplishment.
So the Rotary Club, it's a club of business people in a local community and what's the mission of the Rotary Club?
It's service above self. I'm happy to say that Dan's a member now. I recruited him in. Rotary is one of them organizations where you're not supposed to bring politics in it. You're not supposed to bring religion in it. It's a group of business leaders. That's how it started 100 and some years ago that wanted to promote business within their community and really in a philanthropic way. So our club has never stepped away from big projects, but the Miracle League was the biggest one we did recently, which I can't believe it's been almost 20 years or 15 years. But you know, it keeps building and growing, and we're happy to say that Dan was a diamond that we found to run this program, because it just keeps growing and improving, and he promotes it well, and it just we couldn't be any prouder.
So Dan, Greg is quite the salesman. And before he came a calling, what were you doing? I mean, now he's got you into the Rotary Club, and so does he come to you with this idea about the Miracle League, and he says, "Hey, I got this idea that we're working on over here with my friends in Rotary, and what do you think?" And
yeah. Well, first of all, I slipped Greg a 20 before we started, so I got that compliment. So I appreciate that. But I've been very lucky to step into this role, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Kathy Reed, who was our initial executive director. Kathy was our Special Kids Organized Recreation Director at the Hamilton Y, and she's the one that got this league, this program, up off the ground. And when she decided to move on to other opportunities about 5 years ago, they were looking for a replacement. And that's when they came knocking on my door, and they said, "Dan, you've been here with the Y for X amount of years already at this point." I believe I'd been there for 5, 6, 7 years already. I had run an adult men's baseball league. They knew I was a baseball guy. And they thought, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that they thought that I could take over the reins from Kathy. And I'll be honest, I was terrified. I was terrified because Kathy did a phenomenal job of building relationships with all of the kids and all of the families. And there were big shoes to fill. Quite frankly, there were big shoes to fill. But I quickly fell in love with it, and it's literally the best part of what I do and how I get involved.
now a lot of people that I have joined me at this table, many of my friends who run other organizations that give back, more times than not, they have a personal story behind what they're doing. Was there a personal story for either one of you as you got involved with this organization? Maybe a friend or a friend's family or a child of your own that may have been inhibited by participating in certain things because the environment wasn't right or the field wasn't proper, or that you just they couldn't be accommodated because of something that was going on in their life?
Well, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I think personally for me, growing up, I had gone through an experience where, in high school and in college, actually, I had become very close. I had a friend who was our RA at the time, and he was very philanthropic for a young kid. I mean, he was 22, 23 at the time. He was a senior, and I was a transfer student at Westchester University. And he was the one who opened my eyes to being, service above self. And I had, for the first 22 years of my life, my focus was baseball and school. So to be able to start giving back, that really opened my eyes. And unfortunately, tragically, we lost him. We lost him about 3 weeks before he was supposed to graduate college. And that personally affected me. I think that changed me. And that was an opportunity for me to really be introspective and see that, he was somebody that knew. He was very idealistic. He always wanted to do the right thing, and that personally affected me greatly. And from there, it was always, I knew that I wanted to be involved, no matter what my career was or where my path took me. I knew I needed to be involved doing something where I saw impact, and I saw it quickly, and where I saw people thriving and being together. And these were things that he had taught me. And it very luckily, I had been working at a YMCA there in Westchester at the time. And when I moved back home, I came right to the Hamilton Y here, where I was part of the youth basketball leagues in the preschool. So I've been a part of the Y my entire life. So again, when the opportunity came up and all of a sudden the light bulb went off, I said, oh, here it is. Here's the thing I've been looking for, where I could literally make a difference that I wanted to, where I could see in every individual set of eyes, the parents, the kids that I talk to every single day. to be able to give back to them and see them thrive where they would not necessarily have an opportunity otherwise. That's what our field does. That's what our league does. It opens up a door for them to come in and play baseball. It's just so simple. It's so simple, and it allows a parent to sit down. You know, a parent of an individual with special needs who never gets to sit down.
Yeah.
They get to sit down.
Yeah.
They get to have a hot dog and sip on a soda and just be a parent.
You have
Just
hot dogs
watch their
over there?
kids. We have hot dogs. We have pork roll. We have. You want it? We'll have it.
Where do I sign? I'm ready. Isn't it the greatest when you see the look on a child's face and the smile, but then you look over at the parent and like they're grinning from ear to ear? Tears you up?
Besides, growing up, I would volunteer for Special Olympics, once a year when it would come to the state and things like that. And that was really my only outreach into the special needs community, besides supporting the YMCA SCORE program over the years and things like that. But it's funny, when I was brought in, it was mainly to help raise money to build the field. And when you're focused on that, you really don't pay attention to anything else going on around you. You just have a mission, you have a goal, and you go do it. And that's just the way I've always been with things I've been involved in. Head down and just don't hear no and just keep going until it's over. So when I was asked to chair the Miracle League, committee and to move forward with the project, where I got emotional was going out and soliciting funds for the project and hearing the stories of the people why they want to give to us. Because you never know what they have in people's backgrounds until you talk to them. And when I would sit with some of our major contributors, it's because they had a brother with a disability, or a child, or they lost a child to a disability, or they have nephews or nieces, and they know that if they build this field, that's something that they can come and participate in. So all that was going on, and a lot of emotions along the way. But it wasn't until the first day, I was standing on the field with Kathy Reed. We were there a couple of hours before game time, and we're setting everything up, and her and I are standing at the pitcher's mound. We think we have everything ready, and the first car pulls up, and the first child gets out in a wheelchair and is coming down to the field. And it was at that moment that both of us just looked at each other and broke down crying, put our arms around each other and went, "It's here.
Yeah.
We did it."
Yeah. Amazing.
But up
right?
until that moment, it was, business was business. We were getting it done.
Well, Dan, Greg, thank you both for joining me today. I can't wait to continue our discussion on the Miracle League and all the great work that you're doing. I'd like to thank you also for tuning in.